Hi everybody, I'm Andrew Roberts from the Great Property Meet, and I'm here today with Matt and Summer from Newmans Estate and Letting Agents here in Rugby and Warwickshire, and it's one of the leading and award-winning estate agencies. Hi Matt and Summer.
Hi.
Hello.
You're also the new sponsors of the Great Property Meet.
Yes, that's right.
And we're looking, or really proud, should I say, to partner with such an award-winning firm as yourselves. Because how long have you Newman's been established?
A long time, since 1988, I believe. That's
Yeah,
right, isn't it now?
25 years.
25 years.
25 years. That's a lot of experience in the trade. Now, in those years, you've actually sat there and seen a lot of offers, or the firm has seen a lot of offers come through the door. And today we're going to be talking about negotiating property deals and whether to use an online or an offline agent, but also how to put an offer in and how you stand the best chance of getting an offer accepted and becoming a repeat buyer of an agent. So let's go with something topical. Let's start online versus offline. What are your views in terms of the differences of an agent to use with regards to marketing a property and also putting an offer in? So if we start with how to market, what are the pros and the cons from your perspective?
So I think the main thing for me, looking at online versus offline, as you say, is when marketing a property. And most of the time with all online agents, you pay an upfront fee, and then the agency, the online agency, have got their money then.
Yeah.
So it's where is the incentive to continue working really hard for you, to investing a lot of money in marketing and trying to negotiate you the best price. Once they've got their fee, it's kind of like
whether it sells
why
or
would
not,
they continue?
they've still been paid. Whereas the high street agents like us, we're on a commission basis of the sale price, so we're incentivized to get them as much as possible, because then it benefits both them and ourselves.
And it's commission only, of course, at Newmans. All the associates are self-employed, so it very much is, if we are going to sell someone's property, we're going to be rewarded, but if we don't put in that work and effort to sell it, and we just kind of sit back and wait for the buyer to come along, we're not going to get paid for it. So we're really incentivized to work hard for the seller, whereas an online agent, whilst they advertise on Rightmove and usual websites, once they've got that payment, it's where they're going to go next, we find.
Yeah, so what we're saying is online, you don't really get a lot of support, you're just paying for access to some portals, listing portals, whereas offline, somebody really works on your behalf to sell your property. So if I was an investor selling some of my portfolio off, I'd get, from what you're telling me, a better price for those properties and probably a faster sale because of the way you actively work in the marketplace rather than passively just list it.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a faster sale, but it's also a sale that has a much higher chance of going through. If you look at the nationwide statistics of fall-through rates, and you look particularly at online agents versus our own, we're getting some really good success rates and completions. And it just means that, again, it's because we're commission driven, we want to get that sale through across the line. Even when a sale's agreed, we're still working hard every day to make sure they've ordered their searches, the mortgage offers out and everything like that, whereas an online agent, again, it just comes back to that they've got paid, and if the deal goes through, it does, but for them it's more about getting as many listings as possible because they work on data.
So you're effectively a sales progressor as well, chasing on their behalf.
Like it's part of our own.
It's just as important, the sales progression, isn't it?
Well, if it doesn't complete, it's not a sale. I always say until the cash is in the till, there is no sale.
Exactly.
That's right, and it's like you said as well, it really is all about the net figure. Although some people may think that you can save a little bit of money by having an online agent that's just a fixed fee, when comparing to a high street agent who might have a fee percentage basis, it is all about that number you walk off with at the end. At the end of the day, and usually when you've got an agent there working hard for you, you're going to net a much higher figure. So therefore, we as the high street agent, actually become cheaper than the online agent because we give you a better overall price.
So it's looking at the overall package, which is a conversation I was having with somebody earlier. It was about a completely different subject, but it was about looking at the whole of life cost. And in terms of this, if you're getting 100 here versus 85 on an online agent, you might have paid 5,000 here but
Yeah.
500 with an online
Exactly.
agent, and the figures are illustrative only, by the way,
Yes.
everybody.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
very true, and very often is the case.
You end
from
up
what we
net
see.
up.
Yeah.
That's
I
what it's all
mean,
about.
I don't know anybody who wouldn't pay someone £5,000 if they can get you £15,000 back.
Extra.
It's all about
extra.
return on investment, isn't it?
Correct.
It's a it's a value add that we're looking at.
And the amount of marketing we do compared to the online agent, like you said, they do put it on the portals.
Mhm.
We do social media marketing, leaflets, direct mail campaigns to all the houses on the market because they're hot buyers who are moving.
Yeah.
So we send a new to market card with the property on, a few details.
Mm.
So yeah, it's
I've
just
seen
huge
the
amount.
social media marketing. You're quite active on social media,
Yeah.
aren't you?
I think you have to be.
Newman property
2019.
experts.
Yeah,
Yes.
we do
Certainly are.
advertisements, Facebook ads to targeted audiences. It's a huge market now on social media.
Yeah,
and
and
I
the
think-
videos as well,
Yeah.
like this as well.
Exactly the content there.
No, brilliant. Well, in terms of, you touched on the fact that when somebody comes and sells, the contrast between an online and an offline,
Mhm.
and the fact that you're doing sales progression as well. Now, in terms of looking at customers who come in to put an offer in on a property that they've seen
Yeah.
with yourselves, you're obviously looking, as part of your sales progression, to work out whether that person is a bona fide customer and has the capability to complete. So what do you look for? If I wanted to come in and negotiate a deal with you,
Mhm.
Yeah.
how would you know I'm better than the next person?
Yeah.
What would I have to do?
So for me, whenever I'm working with an investor or if it's just a buyer, it really is about establishing a good amount of questions at the start to work out if they own other properties, how many properties they've viewed before potentially buying this one, if they were buying any others and they didn't go through, why did they not? So we can start to kind of build a picture of them as a buyer.
Yeah.
But also I think it's so important in the way that they deal with us and in the way that they present their offers as well. So I think a good example of that is just viewing a property and ringing the agent up and giving a very low offer and just saying, that's my offer, that's it. Whilst it's not necessarily a problem to put that offer forward, if that's what you feel the property is worth, that's fine. If you deal with it in the way of putting it in writing to us with your solicitor details attached, your proof of funds attached, and your reasoning for the offer, such as works that the property needs, if you can reference recent comparable properties that have sold on the street and in the area, we'll then view you as a buyer or investor as someone who really knows what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And that puts a lot more confidence in them, and we can then speak to them on more of a professional business-to-business
Yeah.
approach.
When
So
they've got solicitors,
Yeah.
mortgage, maybe if they're using a mortgage, they can give us the mortgage broker's number or proof of funds as
And
well.
they've got everything
Yeah.
ready to go.
So a
Yeah.
cheeky offer over the phone is
Yeah.
not the way to go. A reasoned, rational, professional approach
Yes.
Yeah.
with a letter of evidence
Mhm.
is the best way. I mean, a little tip that I always give to people, and I don't know if you've ever
Mhm.
come across this before yourselves, is sort out your mortgage first.
Mhm.
When you've got your mortgage,
Yeah.
then look for the solicitor, and don't go, Bob's Solicitors in the High Street's my firm, because sometimes Bob isn't on the panel of the solicitor. So you
Yeah.
either have to change the solicitor, wasting time and
Mhm.
energy, or Bob has to charge you more money because he has to hire a second solicitor
Yeah. To get
to sign off the paperwork
Mm.
for the solicitor for the lender.
Yeah.
So it's very worthwhile sorting your mortgage first and then following on with your solicitor, and that's a
Yeah.
top tip there
Yeah, for sure.
to do that, because it stops the process stalling, stops delays
Yeah.
in the transaction.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the biggest thing as well, you mentioned follow-up there, and it just reminded me of a good point. I think follow-up is the most important thing when looking to buy a property, particularly when investing, and it's something so many people do not do. People tend to put an offer on a property that gets rejected for whatever reason, and then you don't hear from them anything again. All you should do, as advice from estate agents, if you're an investor, is to schedule that offer in some kind of CRM or a quick Excel sheet that you've got every 8 weeks or so, and then
Yeah.
just follow up the agent. The chances are, a lot of the time, the property may be reduced, or the seller's motivation has changed, and now they're really
Yeah.
motivated to sell, and that offer could be acceptable. But the agent has spoken with so many other people since then, and there are some agents out there that aren't as organised as they should be. and they may have either forgotten that you actually offered on it, lost your contact details. There's a list of reasons. If you just stay consistently following up, not to the extent of every day, but every few weeks, I think 8 weeks is a good amount, you're far more likely to get offers accepted on properties.
And even if you call up and say about the property that you wanted a few weeks ago, if that's still not for you, they might think, oh, we've got another one that's about to come up. Would this be interesting for you? So you're staying on top of their mind as well. So 100% follow-ups. You don't want to offer and then just never speak to them.
It's very much trying to stay at the top of somebody's in-tray or in the front of their mind. This person's active in a market. This person's keen to purchase.
Genuinely looking to buy. They're going to buy something. Let's make sure it's one of ours.
And you get the money in your door, therefore able to perpetuate bringing more deals in. Now, you guys, I believe you both do sourcing as well, don't you?
So we primarily source for ourselves for investing. We do invest in a different area primarily that we sell in. But it is something we've done partly before, mostly really for family that we have, isn't that right?
Yeah, we've got Matt's parents are property investors as well, so we've deal sourced for them. But we've both done the investing side and the estate agency side, so
we know both.
You can understand and cross over. So, in terms of if you were new to property and you were looking to get into it, and people say, "Oh, deal sourcing's an easy place to start," what would be 3 or 4 tips that you can share with regards to deal sourcing, how you would go about setting up a deal sourcing business?
My number 1 tip is become an expert before you try and do any deals. There are so many people that are kind of claiming or working in a deal sourcing business that they've set up, and we get calls from them quite a lot. But it tends to be people that might not know as much as they should, and I would focus on being as valuable as possible to other investors and just being as knowledgeable as possible, and then building my network really first before I start to go in and trying to sell deals and sell to people. I want to build a really solid connection base.
Yeah, so when you're networking as well, I think a lot of deal sources want to have so many investors and try and sell all these deals to loads of investors, whereas if you have only 1 or 2 investors and you've qualified them, they are ready to spend their money and buy a property, then you just go out specifically and find what they're looking for, and you make a deal happen, rather than, I think it's the spray approach.
I think that's
spray it all everywhere.
a top tip there, because what we're effectively saying is, don't source a property and then try and find a buyer. Find a buyer, then sell them the property, because it's easier. That's how I like to run a lot of my businesses. Is I find the customer, and then I fulfil the customer need.
Because if you're fulfilling finding a buyer first, and then you can go out and find them a property that's on the market. It's definitely the right way to do it, and someone is then serious and committed. I would look to, if you're working with a buyer, get their proof of funds and everything like that, because if they're not prepared to give that sort of thing, are they that much of a serious buyer? I would say.
No, top tip there. So, in terms of the Warwickshire marketplace, to sort of wrap this up, you're trading in several towns here as Newmans property experts. What's your finger on the pulse of the marketplace here in Warwickshire? Is the market on the way up, static, on the way down? Where do you feel it is at this point in time, and will Brexit sort of change that opinion?
It will certainly be interesting to see what happens there. I mean, what we're seeing figures-wise on the cold face is more properties reduced than any other time really before in the recent times. In Rugby alone, over 30% of properties were reduced last month, which is a massive amount. So really what we're finding is, although properties are still selling, the marketing approach really does have to be spot on, and as well as the negotiating. There are times in a really hot, seller's market where just putting it online and getting a buy around next day, or using an online agent is a lot easier. But I think in a market like this, it's really important to use an estate agent who is going to be that much more driven to continuously get the results, tell you the feedback you need to hear, not always want to hear, which is obviously important. And just really you've got to do more to find a buyer now, but properties are still selling well.
Yeah, this weekend we had 40 viewings on
Yeah.
property at an open
And
house.
an open
So
house.
buyers are still wanting to move, you know. So
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, the
Brexit,
market
interesting.
continues. People will always
Mhm.
need a roof over their
Yes.
heads. Families will grow
Mm-hmm.
because young
Yeah.
young people have
And we're on an
children,
island and it's not getting any bigger.
correct. But I think what you've just said there to sort of encapsulate it is, if you're using an online agent, to go back to our first question,
Yeah.
the difference between you and an online agent is they'll list it, and if it sells, it sells.
Yeah.
Whereas you've actually got your finger on the pulse of the market.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And because you've got your finger on the pulse of the market, you know what's happening,
Yeah.
you know how to change the marketing tactics,
Yeah.
and you can do that quite fast
Mhm.
in order to generate sales for your customers and find buyers.
That's right.
Because if you're listening to the market heartbeat, you're responding to it.
We're
So
in
I think
there.
that is a brilliant justification for using an offline agent.
Yeah.
Another
love
huge thing I think that's so different with the online agent is sometimes you want to call it a call centre, whereas when we're dealing with properties personally, they just contact our mobile and literally they are in
Yeah.
contact with just
7
us.
days a week,
we
you
tell
know,
them
we're
everything.
very happy for people to contact us. And I would always say to anyone thinking of using an online agent, just call up for a viewing.
Yeah,
You know, call
see
one of them
your-
up for a viewing and see how you're dealt with.
Yes,
And I
yeah,
think
because that's what your buyers will
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mystery shop, as I call
Yeah,
it.
mystery
Because
shop.
if you mystery shop the experience and you don't like it,
Yeah.
that's a great way not to, or to decide
Yeah.
where not to go. So, and you will find that call centres are not motivated
Yeah.
quite as well as somebody on the coal face, and they won't know your local market either.
Or the
Exactly.
property, you know, the people that you speak to at the call centres, they've never been to the property, they don't know what it's like, they don't know anything about it. It's very much just take a name and number and someone
Yeah.
will hopefully get back to you.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they have their place for sure, but I think
Yeah.
more so it's needed for a traditional agent in this market.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
that's true.
Superb. Well, we've had a great
Yeah.
chat today on negotiating
Mhm.
online versus offline and how to prepare and put an offer in
Yeah.
to have a greater chance of success and also to get the sale through faster.
Yeah.
So I thank you very much. We'll look forward to having another update in a week's time
Mhm.
on another topic that we choose.
Yeah.
And if you've got anything that you want to share with us, click the button below just down here and you'll subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
You'll also
Mhm.
be able to hyperlink straight over to either the Great Property Me or Newman Property Experts as well and get in touch with either Matt or Summer. And I'm Andrew Roberts from Great Property Me, and it's been a pleasure interviewing you both today.
Thank
It's been
you.
a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been amazing.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
You're welcome.